So you've been through most of the tutorials and you've seen most of the layers and retouching techniques that I use for my retouching process. But now let's put it into a workflow process. Let's take this photo and work through it right to the end, to the final product, so you can see how each one comes together. So as you've gone through these tutorials, what you could have done, or what you would have been nice, and what is suggested, is if you go through them again, or if you haven't done this, go through them and create actions. And if you look on the side here, I've created actions, and I'm going to be running through these actions through this tutorial. So create your actions, save them, so that when you bring your photos through, you've got the actions saved, everything's ready to go. You just click it, tweak a few things, and move on to the next layer. So what we're going to start with is what we call Creative Raw, and it's a 2 raw conversion we talked about in sharpening images. And there you can see it brings it up in Camera Raw, and I've already got presets saved here. But basically what happens is contrast comes down to -50, highlights all the way down, shadows all the way up, blacks to -50, clarity to 100, and vibrance to 25. And then under the details tab, I've also got the luminance and luminance detail up at 80, this is my favorite preset. This is the favorite way I like to do it. You can also change it to grayscale or not. I just prefer to keep it off grayscale. What I do is press OK, and there you can see the effect. With that, I like to just keep it from luminosity to normal. It helps me keep the color. When I keep it in black and white, then I keep it as luminosity because it enhances the color. So either which way, they give you basically the same effect. You just need to find out which one works for you. So in this photo, I'm going to keep it pretty much like that, but I'm going to just put in a layer mask and fill it with 40% black. Very low amount, so that it still keeps most of the effect. I'm going to take a paintbrush at 40% and just paint back the subject that I want in this, and that's the Grim Reaper, the patient. So I'm going to paint back some of those details there, and then the 2 paramedics that are sitting there. Now just bear in mind, I am racing through this so that we don't have too long a tutorial, but you should hopefully get the effect after I'm finished. So there we go, I've painted that in. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a monster merge. Now I'm using a webcam tablet, so you can preset the pen and to come and bring down a pop-up menu. That's what you saw. And then all you do is Control-Shift-Alt-E, and it gives you a monster merge. And then I rename this to 80/20. Now that's something I haven't discussed before, but it's a very simple explanation. 80% of my work that I do on this image now goes into this layer. And you'll see now as we go through that you've already gone through these tutorials. You should already know these techniques. It's just putting them into practice now. So one of the first things I do is create a duplicate layer or a monster merge layer. Go to Image, Adjustments, and Shadows and Highlights. And these are the presets I use. There's Shadows 50/50 150 and Highlights 50/20 and 200. And you can see that is well overdone, and what I usually do is just bring it down to about 20. The image is already bright, I don't need it much more brighter, but all it does is just brings out a slight amount of those highlights and shadows. And we're going to merge down. Now in the 80/20 layer, you'll see everything I do is I merge it down on this layer. I merge it all down into one layer. That's kind of my main work layer. And then what I'm going to do is monster merge again, also again do a shadows highlight layer, and I'm going to put it to soft light. What this does is it enhances that contrast and enhances that color, but I don't want it too much, so I'll bring it down to 20. Just subtle changes make a huge difference in the end of the line, and merge down. From there I just take my vibrance scale, push it up to about 30. I like my images to pop, and merge it down. Everything merges down. As we spoke about with contrast, black and white layer, but I like to tint mine. So we're going to go sepia tone black and white, change it to soft light, and I'm also going to bring that down to 30, and then I'm going to merge it down. So those are the general things, first things that I always do on this type of layer, on 80-20 layer. Now what I want to do is I want to fix up some things that I don't like here. So we're going to take that branch out, and then I'm going to go into do some cloning. As you can see it, let's change it to 100%, sorry, and clone in some of those dead or gone branches. Okay, just fill it up, make it nice and green hedge. And remember to take from all different spots. And once again, please note, I am going super speedy through this. You need to take your time, and you need to spend some time on the image, creating it and making exactly what you want. Okay, so the hedge looks a bit better. Now what I want to do is I actually want to put some color in this grass. So what I'm going to do is create a blank layer, change it to color, and let's select a nice green color from the grass here. Ugh, that's a bit, see, go a bit darker, that should look good. So take a paintbrush, 40%, and let's put some green in there. You see, I've already made a mistake, but like I said, I'm going through it pretty fast. Put in some green. Let's change that green to a bit more limey. Yeah, there we go. Create another layer for soft light, just to enhance some of the yellows in there and make it more realistic looking. And there we go, and we take those two layers and merge down. And let's see how it's going. You can see all those effects coming in nicely. And now what I'm going to do is create another monster merge. I'm going to go to my history brush. Yeah, this is my history brush. And I'm going to just paint in some of the paramedics' faces here, some of their arms. Just bring that in there, and the patient's face, we want that to pop a bit. Okay, there we go. And that looks good, so what I'm going to do is merge it down. Now I want some dodging and burning, I'll show you. Go to soft light, fill it with 50% grey, and go to your dodge tool. And I want this to look, it's got to be a little bit overdone on her. And in this layer I kind of focus on the limbs of the people. Let's go to the paramedic. So there's some cheekbones, some strain lines on the arms there, just to highlight the contours. And what we can do, just to give it a little bit more of a effect, put it on there. Okay, awesome. So that gives us a little bit of dodging burn. But you see where we're going. We can actually go into each layer. What I'd usually do is go into the clothing and sit and sort out all the clothing, and I'll sit and do that. But that would take too much time, and we're just trying to show you the effect that would work. So we're going to merge that down. Okay, let's put a sky in like we had before. So let's go and find my sky. And let's see what sky we're going to put in there. Let's put in this sky. Open a smart object. Now all I'm going to do is go Control All, Control C, and then I'm going to Control V. Close the other layer off, and there we go. We've got our sky in there, but we don't need it so big. We only need it about there. Just drop down the opacity so we can see where we want to place it, and that's a good enough place. I'm going to put it there. Bring up the opacity, turn it off. And then what's the nicest way to select the color is selecting color range. Let's still go from the previous setting. I'm going to select that because I like that, and then we're going to add the sky in there. So we've added a nice bit of cloud. What you might want to do though, because the cloud should be a lot blurrier, so we're going to go filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and just bring it down to about 8. So let's go down to 5, so that you can see it but it is blurred. And there we go, and merge that down. Okay, let's see how that's looking. Looking much better. So now from there I've finished most of my little touch-ups there, and in a normal edit I would be spending a lot more detail in actually filling up these spaces here, and you need to take time with your edit. You need to really work on it, and I'd probably even take these bricks out if I wanted and remove them and clone them with that to bring more of the tension into the center here. And then we're going to go to Freaky Amazing Details. It's how to add details via surface blur. So you can see mine is just an action and it's got everything preset. So there we go. But in this type of image I'm going to fill it with 50% grey, which is going to really bring out a lot more detail than in a normal photo shoot where I'm shooting a bride or something like that. So we can paint in a little bit more, really just to highlight those details and all the creases in the clothes, and keep it to the subject so that none of the background is becoming distractive and your focus is drawn to all the detail that's in there. Okay, awesome. Now we're going to contrast, and this is contrast via unsharpen mask, and I usually fill with a 70% black opacity. So you'll see there is an effect, but it's very slight, and I take my paintbrush again, 40% white brush, and I just paint it in, and you can see that effect pulling in there. And again, I'm rushing, but that's okay. So we've done contrast. We're going to go to dodge and burn, which is next on the list. And again, I've got an action, so it's preset. It's already I've pre-recorded all the actions that I use on a normal basis, so that is what it's doing. So now it's got a black layer mask on it. I'm going to take a white brush again, 40%, and just paint in all the where I want it to be dodged and burned over the creases of the clothes, just like that. And there we go. It gives it a nice look, and you'll see it makes small changes, but at the end it makes one big difference. Okay, now we're going to go to the painted effect, or the cartoonizing effect, and just let the computer do its thing. Okay. And there we go, painted effect. And what I'm going to do is just paint in with a black brush now, 40%, just some of the facial details, just in the hair and the gloves, so we have a little bit of sharpness and clarity in those. And that's the painted effect. You can see it really just creates that very smooth cartoonized effect, or cinematography effect. From there, in this image I do not add a glow, but in weddings or modeling and something I would add a glow. It makes it nice and romantic and soft. And we're going to sharpen it with unsharpened mask, we're going to sharpen it with high pass effect, and there we go. You see, brings out crisp details in there. And all that's left to do is now vignette the image. So we draw our little marquee there, and I've already got an action preset for that, so it darkens it down. I like it to come to like 60%, and then just highlight everybody that I want to be important in this, and they come down to 30%. And then from there you can add color tonings and anything you want to do. I would add an orange color toning to it, and which will basically end up letting it look something like that. And there we go. I hope that was helpful. I hope that was informative, and I hope you learned something, and I hope that I've been able to help you progress your retouching and editing skills.